Okay, this is my cup holder mod to the Travato. I really didn't like it that the cup holders were way down here at the bottom, or you had to use the cup holders way off to the side over there. I wanted a central cup holder to be able to use here in the middle, and then I use this little section here for my cell phone and stuff. I 3D printed a couple of these little rings to fit in the middle here so that they could accommodate different size cups. But basically I just attached a piece of sheet metal behind the dash here, and then ran the sheet metal out here, and then screwed this cup holder that I got on, I think I got it on Amazon or something. I just cut it to shape and then fitted it on. Okay, here in the kitchen, I really wanted to have paper towels over the sink. So right here, I just used this paper towel holder that I got. I think I got it on Amazon also. But I just used super strong double-sided tape, you know, the tape that can hold like 30 pounds, and basically just springs in there, and then you can just put this in there and it just springs in place. And that's a really awesome paper towel holder, which you really have to have in your RV. Okay, now we're in the bathroom just above the toilet here. Something else that was missing in the Travato was a towel holder, just to be able to hold your towel either while you're taking a shower or to have it dry after you've taken a shower. And this is just put on again with some really strong double-sided tape. Again, I think I got this on Amazon, and it just fits in there great. It's been on there 2 years and hasn't budged, so it's been pretty awesome. But you definitely need a towel holder. Okay, something I really recommend for keeping your tank smelling good is this stuff called Happy Camper. It's a powder, and you just take one scoop of this powder, and every time after you clean out your tank, you just put one little scoop of this powder in. This comes with a little scooper there. You just take one little scoop of this after you clean out your tank, and you flush it down with a little bit of water. And I've had that for 2 years, and it's lasted great, and it really keeps the tank smell good. It's all the other stuff stinks. It just stinks worse than what's in there. But this stuff doesn't smell at all, and it keeps it odor-free. Okay, another important thing to have here in the bathroom is a couple of hooks. I got a stick-up hook here. It's just one of those 3M stupid hooks that you just can stick up anywhere. It's good for hanging up like your undies when you're taking a shower. And on this side, I have one for I keep a towel for drying my hands. I have it just stuck onto the mirror there, and it just works great. Let me right there. The other thing I have here is I have a bottle of hand soap, and I have it's a double stick taped right to the basin, so that way I always have my soap there and I don't have to worry about sliding around while I'm driving. Okay, continuing with the theme of the bathroom, one of the major problems that the Travato has is that when you go to drain the shower, this drain gets plugged up really quickly. And the reason it gets plugged up quickly is because there's this little filter here that goes in, and it goes in between here and here. And this thing gets coated up with junk, I mean, so quickly. I mean, it's, you know, you can see this one right here. It's got sand and all kinds of gook in it. It just fills up way too quickly. They have to have this because the main pump that pumps this out gets clogged up really easily if you don't have a pre-filter. But what I do is I keep this filter out. I don't use this filter. I just screw this right on here like this. Then I used a piece of screen material, just like regular house screen, and I glued it in a way that it fits perfectly all the way around that filter. So when I'm taking a shower, it just keeps most of the hair and gook and stuff like that from clogging the drain. So that way, very few hairs and dirt and leaves and all this stuff will get to the main filter pump until you don't have to clean that often. When you come down here underneath your sink here, this is the filter that I was talking about that clogs up from the use of from the shower. You just have to unscrew this once in a while and pull this out, and you can see, well, I've just cleaned it recently, but you can see it's nice and clean. But that is a really fine mesh screen that will catch all the stuff that my little screen doesn't catch. So it'll catch even sand. It looks like it's really fine mesh, but it catches all the extra hair and the other dirt that comes through, so it doesn't go through your pump. Okay, for a garbage bag solution, I just got these garbage bag hook things that just basically double stick tape on the inside of the cabinet, and they're made to hold hook onto your regular grocery bags like we get from Publix here in Florida. And you just basically take them and hook them up like this I usually run them over twice so they hook on really good. And then you got your bag right there. And to store your bags, I got one of these little storage containers in here that stores all the extra grocery bags that I've got just on right there. The other thing I always like to do is I just hook a Windex container right up there, and it just stays right up there. I've had it up there for 2 years, and it's really handy having it up there. Now I actually use my microwave as storage, and this is actually where I keep my Keurig coffee maker. I just keep it wrapped up in some bubble wrap, and I just keep it in here, and I'll pull it out and I'll show you how I use it. So I just keep it in this bubble wrap, and it just rolls up. It's called a Keurig Mini. I think it's actually mostly used in hotel rooms where I think it only do like 10 ounces of, it does 10 ounces because I use a 20-ounce bottle twice. So it fits perfectly for a 10 ounce. But basically, takes your basic Keurig, take that, put your water in. The great thing is it uses a very small amount of energy. And I can just plug it right in here to my inverter, right in here. And I don't even need to turn on the generator to make my coffee maker work. It just works great. Takes about 4 or 5 minutes to make a cup, and that was the best solution I could find for storage and for making coffee on the go. Okay, so the normal plug for the microwave plugs into here, which works if you're either on shore power or on your generator. But a lot of times I like to run my microwave off my inverter. So all I do is I just take the microwave plug right here that comes out of here. It's not long enough to reach all the way over to my inverter, so I just use a short extension with a strip, and it plugs it from here, and it plugs it all the way over to my inverter. And it's a 2,000 watt inverter, and I think the microwave takes about 1,200 watts. So it runs my microwave awesome. And that's a nice solution for running the microwave off your inverter without having to run plugs all over the place. It's really convenient to have the temperature on the inside and outside of your van all the time. So I put one of these weather stations we can get for 20 or 30 bucks on Amazon or at Lowe's. And this one just is pretty basic. It just shows me my indoor and outdoor temperature and humidity. And I have it mounted, you know, under the frame somewhere where it's out of the way and it won't get wet. But it's really convenient. I've got it mounted kind of high. If I did it again, I'd probably put it down lower because it always says it's like 95 degrees in here when it really isn't. It's just because it's so up high in the van. But you got to have an indoor-outdoor weather station in here. Okay, one modification I made to the TV is I wanted to be able to have an extra HDMI select because right now the HDMI goes and plugs into the TV, but I wanted to be able to plug in an extra HDMI selector. So I have this Fosmax HDMI switch, 2-port switch, and I'm able to hit the button and you can switch back and forth between the two HDMIs. And I just keep an extra HDMI button in here. And then I also keep one of these in here, which allows you to run your Netflix from your iPad or your phone to HDMI, and then that will plug in there. And then you can watch Netflix or Hulu or whatever you want on the road, just plugs it right back in here to the back of your TV. If you don't have one of these switches like this, then it's really hard to get to the HDMI plugs that are in the back of the TV because they're covered by this panel. So that's a nice little solution for that. Now I have a wifiranger installed on the roof of my RV here, which this is the cable that comes from the wifiranger on the top of the roof, and this is your wifiranger power right here. And I just basically have to take this cable right here that I ran from 12 volts. It plugs in here, and this powers up my wifiranger. I don't use it very much. The wifiranger is great if you have access to a good Wi-Fi signal and want to amplify it throughout your van, especially if your phone's inside the van or having a hard time getting out and getting the signal. But it's a really, expensive device and really only necessary if somebody really needs to have Wi-Fi in their van all the time. Something I do a lot of in the van is I label just about everything. So you can see I've got all the switches here labeled. I've got all the switches at the back labeled because it's always hard to remember which does what. And then the other thing I have labeled here is I actually have labels up at the panel basically telling me how big my different tanks are, just to remind me. Let's see if I can zoom into that. How big my tanks are, how how many hours were on my generator the last time that I changed the oil, and the date. One other thing I added to the van was a fridge cooling fan. You can see these on the internet, and I just have a switch in here that when I turn this on, turns on a fan that's in the back of the fridge that evacuates the air from the back of the fridge, especially on days where the sun is on that side, is on the driver's side of the van, and it could really be hard for the fridge ventilation to cool off. So I just added a fan to help ventilate the air out of the fridge cooling area. Now I made a whole video on the installation of my inverter back in here, but here's my inverter. It's a 2001 inverter, and I have it set up with a nice short cables all the way to the battery. The reason it's this far back is because it's as close to the main batteries as possible with zero sized wire. I have very little voltage drop from the batteries to the inverter, and I have these little clips on here so I can pop this panel on and off. It just makes it much easier to have access to this area. Just take that and pops it back on. The remote for that is over here, so I just have a switch over here, and there's my inverter remote. Turns it on, and then there's my inverter plug. All I did is replace the plug that was in there. I just ran a Romex and switched it out to my inverter power. Okay, going into the main cabinet, one of the things I did was I added a little light in here. This is just one of these little quick lights that you just kind of pop on. It's battery powered, and this gives me a couple different levels of lighting to be able, when I'm in this cabinet, to be able to go and get into this cabinet. Okay, inside the cabinet where I had that little light installed is the access to the converter charger. So I just put on this little clip, same ones that I have on the in the bathroom. Just makes it easy to be able to lift up that floor, and that gives you access to your converter charger. Now this converter charger does not come with this remote. You have to actually order this separately. I think I also got that on eBay. But it comes with a remote cable, plugs into your converter here, and you can either mount the remote somewhere inside the RV so you can see it. I just mounted it on the outside of the converter just in case I wanted to know what the condition was of the converter charger, what mode it was in. I can come in here and check it out. But that's installed inside this bottom here of the cabinet. Now for storing all the stuff that are in these upper cabinets above the bed, I put these Sterilite containers up here. It makes it a lot easier. If you want to get something out of there and it kind of holds them in place, you just pull the containers out, put it on the cabinet, put it over here on there, go through your stuff, and then you can put them back in there. And it can hold I think it holds 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And then you have space in between to put other stuff, like I put my rubber gloves and some towels and some paper towels on top and stuff like that. But this has got all my extra stuff that I keep in the RV, like tent pegs and things like that. But having these storage containers really makes it a lot easier to have access to and to keep the stuff organized. Okay, now the bed to the Travato is actually pretty comfy, but I was a little more uncomfortable on my 50s and wanted to be a little bit more comfortable. So what I did was, you can see that the bed comes with these little springs that help out with the cushion a little bit, and then of course it comes with this mattress, which is actually pretty thick. It's probably, I don't know, 10 inches thick or something like that. But what I did is I went to Walmart and got one of these memory foam. This is just 1.5 inches, and I cut it to fit on top of that. So I have a mattress cover that goes over top of that, and man, does that make a difference on the kind of comfort you have when you're laying in this van. It really helped the comfort level. Okay, in the fridge, a couple of smart things to have in the fridge are, first of all, it's good to have a temperature gauge. So it's good to have a temperature gauge. You can see it's a little toasty in here right now, but just be able to keep good track of, whether or not your equipment is cooling properly. Obviously a low level, I keep this on this level. I try to keep, whenever I have my fridge running, I try to keep the van as level as possible, whether I need to put something under the wheels or just drive it in a place that keeps it level, because it will just operate much better. And the other thing I have is this little fan, and this helps circulate the air within the fridge to keep things nice and cold. So that's a nice 3 little things for good to have in your fridge to make it work more efficiently. In addition to the fridge cooling fan that I have on the outside. And if you ever want to take the drawers out of the cabinet to be able to do modifications behind there, or just to clean the drawers or anything like that, you have to properly know how to get them out. And you have to see they have to push down this little pin on this side. I put a label there to remind me where the pin on the other side, and I think it's probably push up on this side. Yeah, you pull up on the pin on this side, you pull up on the pin on this side. And if you do that, that helps pull the drawers out. But it's good to put labels on there to remind you how to pull those drawers in and out. The curtains there at the back of the van, I pretty much keep those curtains up 100% of the time. I didn't really feel necessary to take them down when driving. But when you are sleeping back here, it's really important. They let gaps of light in, so I have these little tiny little magnets that I put on there that I kind of can place wherever I need to if there's light coming in. And you see I got them, the little square magnets, you get them just about anywhere, little neo magnets, and I use those to help keep the light out around the shades or in the back of the van. One thing I always like to do in my RVs is keep a dehumidifier in the RV when I'm not using it. This is in Florida, and our humidity gets way up there, so I try and keep the humidity around 50 to 60%. And here I just have a small portable dehumidifier, and I keep that running all the time. It makes it warm in here, but I keep track on my handy dandy little weather station over here to keep track of my indoor humidity, which really helps keep down the mold inside the van. If you let a van like this sit in the heat for a month without a dehumidifier, you will have visible mold on lots of surfaces in there. So I'm really sensitive to mold, so I keep this running all the time. One of the things that's really important in these vans is keeping the heat out, and the van actually comes with window covers that are like this carpet material that you can put over here to keep, for privacy, to keep people from looking inside, but they don't do anything for keeping the heat out. So I bought these Heatsheild covers, and they just come up by little suction cups, and it's by a company called Heatsheild, and they custom make them for the vehicle that you have. They make them for lots of different vehicles, and they do make them for the Travato. So that's the name of the company. Let me see if I get that without the thing. And these are awesome. I mean, they're reflective and they're insulated, and they pop up really easy. It takes 2 minutes to pop them up after you get home. It keeps the heat out, and we have one on the main windshield here, which makes a massive difference in the amount of heat that can keep up. If I keep the heat shields on and I keep all the other windows covered up, it really stays pretty cool in here throughout the day, even though if it's in the sun. So it's really important to have those heat shields on the 2 front windows, passenger and driver window, and then the front window really helps keep the heat down. Okay, another nice thing you put on the outside of the van are these levelers, which obviously when you apply them, you got to make sure that they're level, so that way when you get to an RV site, you can quickly check to see how level your van is. This obviously put one on the side to check if you are level front to back, and then I have another one at the back of the van, so that if I can check if I'm level from right to left. And these are awesome little things, and they're cheap. You just got to take some time when you put them on to make sure that they're actually level when you put them on, and then stick them on. And I've had those on there 2 years and I haven't budged. Okay, you've got this ceiling fan here midway through the van, and I have this cover installed, and you can buy this cover. Just push it through and pull it off there. And this fan is awesome. I mean, you can open it up and crank your fan on and get your fan going. That's awesome. But if you're not using your fan, and that sun just comes right in there. So when you're not using it and you want to keep the van as cool as possible, you buy this fan cover, and it comes with a little insulated reflective shield in there. You install these little clips on the side so you can slide it on. Basically, you just slide these 2 in first, slide those 2 in first, and then backslide them into this one. And man, it really makes a big difference in the amount of heat that comes down from there.